Because we know people who should be successful, but what? They're not successful. Why?
So that's his why buy. But what is he afraid of?
My personal style of education, but still entertain them, bring them along with stories, right?
If you're a real man, what do you do? I'm not the only one.
You can't wait to tell your spouse. You can't wait to tell your colleague. You can't wait to go to work and tell somebody. And you're like, oh my God, I can't wait. So what happened?
If you haven't seen my TV show, you should get cable. That's what you need to do.
From doing a TV show to doing corporate events, I've been so lucky to connect with many passionate entrepreneurs worldwide.
What I've learned from a business perspective.
Because this is the formula for success, no matter who you talk to. Attitude will drive your behavior. Would you agree? And your behavior will drive your consequences every single time.
We got the concept. Okay, we got the concept. We got the equipment, right? We got the brand. You guys got that. And then again, we got the content that we create. That's the easy part. This is the big one, the big C, which is the commitment.
What should you do? That's right. All right. 10Xers, do not fail me. True test. Here it comes.
There's skill, and then there's will. Listen to what I'm saying. There is skill, and then there is will. And here's the interesting thing. I know a lot of people who have a lot of skill, but have no what? Will, right? You ever look at somebody who's successful, and you say, why them? Why not you? Yes, okay, that's me too.
You have more control, but your costs are also going to be what? Higher.
Now, here's where some of the magic is starting to kick in.
You can talk to any CEO in the B2B business, any CEO. You walk into his office and they only care about three things. People too. Yeah, he with the suit, put it up. There you go. I hope you can see this. I'll try to draw big. Let's pretend for a moment that I had 7 territories. You remember I wrote that out? Yes or no? Boom. Territory 2, territory 3, all the way to territory number what? 7. So now I've segmented my market.
So content is going to start being created by machines. And I'm telling you right now that those people, you guys, the content creators that connect with people are the ones that are going to win. Some people think, well, it won't work for my industry. Really? It'll work for any industry. Trust me. The majority of the time when we're looking to fix something, repair something, or learn something, where do we go? YouTube. We don't even want to read anymore. We go to YouTube. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong.
When you're doing your thing, beautiful things begin to happen. It's like the law of attraction kicks in. You know what I mean? It's almost like you're in line with the universe. Everything works. And when you do your thing, everybody gets an automatic MBA, which stands for what? Mega Bank Account Money. Are you with me? So we don't want to do a thing. We want to do a what? Beautiful.
All right, put it all together for Victor Antonio. Here we go.
All right, there we go. I'm not here to mess around. You ready to learn, yes or no?
That's how it works in today's market. Whether it's B2B or B2C, you see this similar pattern. So how do you just, in other words, say you've got to start doing these things, pushing them, but also encouraging them. Oh, look at this. This is where it gets, dude, this is like so interactive with audiences, Matt. Can you imagine this with your customers? Check this out. Now, what does all this have to do with selling? It has everything to do with selling.
All right, man, what's happening? Welcome to another episode of Sales After Dark. Victor Antonio, your host. Anyway, thank you for joining me, man. If this is your first time with the live stream, what I'll do is I'll take some comments in just a bit, kind of go through the greetings, then we'll go do some content, and at the end, I'll do Q&A, and hopefully you can keep your Q&A to whatever the subject is. So, do your best. But anyway, greeting, content, Q&A at the end. Let's go do this. Let's see what's happening. My man, Uncle John, is always excited, man. I'm excited to always have you here, man. So thank you for being here. Relentless Aaron. Yeah, man, that's a Chris Stone intro right there. My son's music is actually in the background. If you go to Lumera Music, lumeramusic.com, that is him. TJ, what's happening? Good day, Master VA, all the way from the Philippines. I was on the phone with my Filipino brothers and sisters last night. I'm doing an event for a company out there called Ayala Land Premier. Let me know if you know who they are, TJ. It's a great company. Relentless Air says, this is a teachable moment. The music drives the content way beyond its time. This pushes me to turn my game up. Crank it, baby, crank it. I gotta get a new video though, Matt. By the way, that's an awesome video, so I don't know. I gotta get another video. I just don't know if I can top that one. Might have to get Chris Stone to do it, man. Time to learn to master the upsell, man. There it is, man. So I'm excited about mastering the upsell. And again, there's the book right there. Mastering the upsell, we'll be doing that. Bam, right there. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Anyway, just like to show my second camera because it's kind of cool. Anyway, that was it. I sent this to my videographer. We're going. There you go, man. Like I said, check out Chris Stone, man. I think he's a good guy. Arvin, what's happening, man? Good evening to you. Always good to see you. And there she is. My girl, Mia Knox, West Coast in the house. Always love to see you on the stream, Mia. What's happening? One day we'll meet, Mia. I'm sure one day we'll meet. Dope opener. Stick a fork in it. I'm done. Bam. It is awesome, man. Kevin Chambers said, let's go. I hate discounting, man. We're going to have some fun today. Yeah, it's one of the largest real estate companies here in the Philippines, Ayala Land. I've spoken for their group, I think, for twice. At least, not last year, but the last 2 years before that. And so good people, so you know what I mean. Kristen's shook. Oh, shook up. We love the opening. It's so VA, right? So VA, right? So thank you. All right, you guys ready to get into it? Because I'm ready to get into it. What I want to do is, again, as you know, I'm going through my book, Mastering the Upsell. And so let me give you guys the visual here. So these are the strategies we've covered already. So, we're making progress here. Like I said, I might come back and cover some of these right here, but this is where we're at. So today is upselling strategy, the in-return upsell, and I'll explain how that ties into discounting. And again, if you haven't gotten the book, the question is, why not? It's a beautiful price, and I'm super excited about the book, man. Like I said, it's one of those books you create and you go, that's a cool book. Really useful information. I'll be doing more videos around that in the Sales Velocity Academy. So I don't know if you guys aren't familiar with the Sales Velocity Academy. Sales Velocity. Next time I'll have this just typed out here so I don't have to do this. SalesVelocityAcademy.com. Check it out. Like I said, we're adding courses really almost like once a week. We're trying to add some new courses, new content. So check it out. All right. Shall we get into it? Let's talk discounting. Let's begin with discounting. Now, Mac Hannon, who wrote the book Consultative Selling in the 70s. Yeah, the 70s, right? So Mac Hannon wrote the book Consultative Selling. Mac Hannon said something in that book that was just like, to this day I still remember, right? Because he said, discounting is the ignorant tax you pay when you don't know the value of your product or service. Well, let me say it again. Rewind, right? It's like discounting is the ignorance tax you pay for not knowing the value of your product or service. And that just stuck with me. Because what he's saying, if you don't, I'm always about positioning your value, not your price. And that statement resonates with me because a lot of us have a hard time positioning value. And we default immediately to price. Well, if you default to price, anybody can match you on price, right? So what I want to do now is let's talk discounting. Let's talk about different strategies that you can use to stop discounting. And then I'm going to tie it into upselling, okay? So let's go through the different strategies you can use. I call these countermeasures, discounting countermeasures before you give a discount away. Now, you may not be able to use all these, but pick and choose, like buffet, a la carte, take what you can and what you need and what you can use, right? So let's go through it. Let's go through this. Again, I mentioned the ignorant tax already. The first one, a 10%. Did you know that a 10% discount could basically impact your margin between 20 and 30%? Isn't that interesting? Now, obviously, this depends on your cost structure, but us as salespeople always see 10% as 10%. I just discounted it 10%. Well, no. Because of the fixed and variable costs within a company, it can impact it by more, 20 to 30%. So when you give away a 10% discount, it's not 10%. It's typically more than 10%. Next, now because you've given away the 10%, now you got to go make it up elsewhere. You got to go sell more or find new clients. So discounting may seem easy in the moment, but the reality is now you got to go find new business, find new clients, or try to sell them more, right? That's the downside. Third one. A discount has a monetary and a time component. What do I mean by that? If you give somebody a discount, obviously that's a dollar value. But also because you have to go out and get new customers, there's a time component. We don't think about this that much, right? We just think it's a discount. And again, this is all the false assumptions we make about discounting. 10% is 10%. No, it's not. It's more. Second, you have to make it up somewhere, and it's going to cost you not money, but also time when it comes to discounting. So what do we do to stop discounting? Here's where we're going to get into alternatives to price breaks. Now, again, I'm going to give you about 7 suggestions here. Not all of them are for you. Just like, again, select the ones you think you could use and be creative. If I show you something that says, how could I use it? That's the question you should always ask yourself. How could I use that? Or could I use it? If I could, how would I use it? So let's go through it. Let's go to the first one here. The first discount counter move, right, is to remove a line item. Now, we talked about this in the endowment effect. Go back and look at the endowment effect. And in the endowment effect, we talk about how it's hard for people to give up things. So what do I mean by this? For example, let's say that here's your proposal, and there's a bunch of line items here, right, of everything you're offering with price, and the total is right here. Total price, right? Customers say, that's more than I expected to pay. Victor, is there any way I can get a discount? You're going to say in your own way, can't do a discount, and then you slide the proposal back over and you hand them the red pen. Remember that? You hand them the red pen. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the other video, right, on the endowment effect. Hand them the red pen and says, why don't you go ahead and take out what you don't want, and then I'll recalculate the price for you. Now, what I love about this strategy is that it'll let you know if the person is earnest in terms of whether they really want to buy from you or not. Now, when they have to remove a line item, don't do it for them, let them do it. This is going to cause them brain pain. Now they really have to make a choice. But notice I didn't give a discount. I said, can't do that, but why don't you go ahead and take out what you don't want, and let's see if we can get this price within your budget. That's strategy number 1. Again, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, a 1 you like, 0 you don't like in the chat. Next, number 2. Let's talk about the second counter move. Second counter move, propose 3 options. Now, we talked about this also, how to use 3 options. Now, why is it important to use 3 options to avoid discounting? Because when we offer 3 options, you guys know the deal. If it's A, B, C, this is the Goldilocks effect, right? Too hot, too cold, just right. So the customer's going to see 3 proposals, and let's say this is the one that you've been really pushing. And he goes, Victor, I like B, but it's too expensive. Then you say, look, I understand it. I don't want to sell you more than what you want. Why don't we just go with option A? Right? So this, and then again, if they chose C, you could always move down to option B. By using options, you can move from one package to another. Now, what's interesting is when you use this strategy with the buyer, again, as in the first one, now in the second, you watch reaction. You watch reaction. Because what you're going to see is people who are serious about buying your product will probably hesitate here and say, you know what, I'm going to make this work. But they sense it in you that you're not going to give them a discount. Even if they say, I'm going to go to my competitor, that's fine. Here are the options. Now, if they're not serious and they're just trying to drive down the price, again, you're going to see it in their reaction. So I always tell people when we present these pricing options, counter move 1 or counter move 2, watch the reaction. It tells you how serious or not serious the buyer is, okay? I'm being very abstract about that because it's something that you have to feel, witness as you're talking to a client. Number 3, counter move number 3. Offer them a substitute product
or an alternative that is a lower cost to bring the overall price down. Now, this again is a brilliant strategy. This is almost going back to the ones with the line item, right? You go back to the line items and you say, you know what I can do is I can replace this one that costs that much. I can replace that with a new one that only costs that much. Now notice, I'm not saying no to bringing the price down. I'm working with the customer to bring the price down. So that's the third strategy, okay? Now, if I'm going too fast for you, you can always watch it on the replay, okay? Now, let's go to the next counter move. Next counter move is offer the client a used item. This works if you're selling equipment. I used to do this all the time. When somebody wanted to buy something from me, and Victor, it's too expensive, I can't afford your system. We were selling large B2B systems. We always had used product, for whatever reason, used product, return materials, that we can say, you know what, I got a used unit. If you don't mind a used unit, which is in good condition, almost like when you go to a car dealership, it's pre-owned, it's authorized pre-owned. So this is authorized pre-owned equipment, then I can give you the price you want. I can lower the price. Now notice what happens here. One, again, you're not saying no. This is the key part about these strategies. You're not saying no, you're working with them. By giving them a pre-owned product and then giving them a discount, they're not going to tie the used product to the new product and assume they're going to get the discount, okay? So there's never that. So in other words, if a month later they come back again and they say, I want the price you gave me last time, I said, I'd be more than happy to give you the price I gave you last time for a used item. So it really kind of creates that separation so you don't come back and try to use the same price request again. So think about that. Is there anything I can offer that's used? I've closed a lot of deals with this actual option. And by the way, when you go to like a electronics store like Best Buy, you'll see that oftentimes people have returned a product, a material, and they'll package it and they'll put it in the front on some special shelf, and they just say, used or pre-owned or whatever they use, but they give you a small discount. So it's a great strategy. But again, the point here is you're not saying no to a discount, you're giving them an alternative, an option. Next move, let's look at this one. Offer the client some free service. Now, I know what you're gonna say. Victor, as they say here in the South, tain't nothing free, man. Tain't nothing for free. Yeah, that's my best Southern impression. Anyway, you're right, tain't nothing for free. But there are things that you can offer that could you give it for free that they don't have to pay for. For example, extra training, right? Consulting, one-on-one coaching, whatever it may be, it is your time. So there is a cost there. It isn't really free. But notice there's no like material cost, no labor cost, just your personal time. So additional training or something of that ilk. It may be, for example, how about a free training session, right? And then what you can do is pre-record the training sessions, put them on a learning management platform like we have with the Sales Velocity Academy, and then they can have access to the system. Now it's all digital, so now the only thing that I'm paying for is to maintain that software on that server. But in a sense, it's not costing me that much, a couple of bucks a month just to store video, right? So in a sense, I can give them that for free. I've used this, by the way. So as you know, I do a lot of speaking, right? Virtual and some live, but mostly virtual right now. And people are always asking me, Victor, can I get a discount? I can't give you a discount, but here's what I can do. One, I can give you a free copy. I can give your whole team a free copy of my book. Bam! Mastering the Upsell. And it'll be in digital format, right? It's a PDF file, or a Kindle format, right? So in other words, I'm offering that for free. So I didn't say no to a lower price. I said, can't do that, but here's what I could do. And everybody gets access to the book. Or I can give you a couple of user licenses to the Sales Velocity Academy. Again, it's not going to cost me anything really, right? It's just a little time to kind of set things up for them with the username and password. That's it. So think about something that you can create. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's a document, maybe it's a book, whatever it may be, something that you can give them that's not going to cost you anything really. Okay, that's what I mean by free. It's kind of free. Next, how about this one? Offer the client a loss leader. Now, this one I got to kind of explain. This one requires a little explanation. Folks in the B2B business will get this one. Sometimes you have products that are not selling.
right? Maybe you have physical products they're not selling. And so you just want to get rid of them, right? There's no inventory velocity. They're just sitting on the shelf, pretty much dead paperweight, right? Right? So you just want to get rid of them. So if there's something you have that you want to get rid of, why not offer a loss leader? That's a lot. I said, well, I can't give you a discount, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw in this software product that we have. I'm going to throw in this piece of hardware that we have. What I've done in the past is I have books that I consider more than a year or 2 years old, and I'm not really promoting those books anymore. I'll just say, you know what? Why don't I give you these books? Because they're just taking a space in my shelf, so I'll give those away. That's my form of a loss leader. So a loss leader means it's not making you money, but sometimes you can use that loss leader to actually make the deal happen. I'll give you one more example. When we were in the telecom business, we sold hardware, like large system hardware. We'll keep it high level, right? We had a software that we used to use to manage that, but nobody really wanted to buy the software. But it was interesting, when I threw the software in as a loss leader, they were always like, oh my God, you're going to give us the software? Are you kidding me? That's an expensive piece of software. Because I could put any price on the software, and we raised the price really high. We knew they wouldn't pay for it, but when you throw it in as a line item, as an add-on for free, they were like, really? We get this? Absolutely. You can manage your network through this. And they were super happy. So again, be creative. What can I throw in, as opposed to giving them a discount that I don't really want or really need or isn't making me money anyway? So why not just toss it in, right? And one more. This one's interesting. Give the client financial options or terms. Now, this is kind of an easy one. So this one you can do, I can't give them a discount, but maybe instead of like net 30, like pay in 30 days, you can do net 60, net 90, 90 days. Come up with something, or break it up like in 4 payments. So for example, we do master classes. By the way, go to victorantonio.com, check out the new master classes we have. One of the things we started to institute, check it out on the website, victorantonio.com, for the master classes. So it's one a month. It's a master class once a month, right? And so it's $99, right? So that's $1,200. We discounted it to $1,000, so you save $200. What we did was, for some people, they wanted options to actually pay it in 2 or 3 payments, right? And we give them that option. So that's a way of adjusting payment terms also to make it easier for people to buy. Now, let's get to the real big one here. Let's say none of this works. None of it works, right? You're like, Victor, tried them all, doesn't work, right? So you tried all these and they don't work, which I kind of don't believe, because something has to work here. But assuming that you're that rare case, you're that outlier, right? That says none of these work for me, Victor. Then we go to what I like to call the in-return tactic, or as I like to call it, the nuclear option, right? And the in-return means this: when a client or prospect asks for a discount, always ask for something in return. There's the upsell. I call this the nuclear option because it's your last hope. Only you can determine when you want to hit the button, right, and use this option. But I would try to expend every other strategy before I give away a discount. But let's be real here. Let's not live in some Shangri-La utopia Pollyannish, reality. Sometimes you have to get a discount, right? There's moments where it's right there, and the only way to just grab it, just to make the customer feel better, is to give them a discount, right? You're like, you hate to do it, but you feel it right. You gotta give the discount. That's reality, right? Anybody who says, I'd never give a discount, liar. Everybody's giving away a discount once in a while, right? You have to. Sometimes it's just the way it is, right? And so the in return is something like this. So what you can do is come up with different things that you can ask for in return. So this is, again, I call it the nuclear option because it's your last chance, right? It's your last alternative, right? You've run out of strategies. This is your last move. You can say, for example, instead of giving them a discount, you can say, Mr. Customer, if you decide, I'll give you a 5% discount if you can increase the volume of your order. So in other words, if they were ordering 100 units, can you move it up to, if you move it up to 200, I can justify giving you that discount. So at least I get more business. Next, increase the average order size. So if it's not volume, increase the average order size. In other words, make the order bigger. Look, I said right now, the order stands at like 45,000. If you can push that to 50,000, I'll give you the discount, right? Next, my favorite, extend the contract, right? Look, It's a 1-year contract. If we can do that for 2 years or 3 years, I can give you this percentage. The last one, why don't you fill in the blank? What would you use in return? What would you give them? What would you ask in return in order to get the actual deal? So this is the in return type of discounting that you can use, right? In other words, you're not really discounting. You're asking for something in return, and then I'll discount. So hopefully you'll make it up on volume, you'll make it up on the average order size, or you'll make it up on the contract. And again, you choose the fourth option, different strategies. Now, quick summary, quick takeaways. First, the goal is to avoid discounting any way possible. Avoid discounting any way possible. That's what we're talking about here, right? Next, discounting to win business is not selling. Read that again. Discounting to win business is not selling. It's gifting value and not getting anything in return. Discounting is not selling. That's giving away stuff. That's giving away value. Again, there are exceptions. There's times where you probably have to discount for whatever reason. I'm not talking about those extreme outlier reasons. I'm not talking about that 2% where you have to do it. I'm talking about the other 98% where we think price discount is a default. Number 3, and again, use the 7 counter moves to push back on the client. By the way, when you push back on the client actually respects that. This is the ironic thing of this, is that the clients actually respect this as well. He just didn't give up a discount. Because when you quickly give up a discount, the customer thinks, well, why did you give me that in the first place? But when you kind of go back and forth, create a little friction, right? A little, you know what I mean? That whole thing. And so when you create that tug of war thing, that tension, that's also, you're going to get a little sign of respect. You're not giving things up easily, but you're also conditioning the customer that you're not a pushover. That if you ask for a discount, you quickly give it over. When you ask for something in return, you're negotiating and the person's going to respect you that much more. That is the irony of this type of situation. Last but not least, if you have to discount, as I've already said, you got to get something in return. And if you don't, then you have just given away value without asking for anything. And I think that is a sales crime, and you should go to jail for that. What kind of jail? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, no vacations for you for a week. But anyway, that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. It was basically the 7 counter moves, the nuclear auction, which is the in return process or policy of not, if you're going to give them something, again, they have to give you something in return to make the deal work. And I'll say this again. Matt Cannon said, discounting is the ignorance tax you pay when you don't know the value of your product or service. Because when you know the value, you're less likely, you're more resistant to giving away a discount. People who don't know their value typically give away the discount. So keep that in mind. Second, people respect the negotiator. So be prepared to negotiate. Don't be so desperate to win the sale that you just basically capitulate and give them the actual discount right away. They're not going to give you respect. They're just going to ask you for more the next time around. And that's it for the Sales After Dark. All right, man, I'm done. And I will take questions. This ought to be an interesting conversation. I know there's a lot of comments scrolling up and down on the left side here, so I'll go all the way back to the top. Let me see. All right, I'll bring these on one at a time. Camlet says, good morning, man. Thank you for joining us, Camlet. Always appreciate you having here. Herb Wash, what's happening, Herb? Good to see you. Kristen Shook. Thank you for doing that, for putting the link there. Thank you. Discount. After learning from you, Master VA, I don't give discounts anymore. Like I said, I'm not saying you got to be hard over, but be resistant. Be less likely to give a discount. Shalene Pearson says, woohoo, glad to be here. I'm glad you're here too, man. So thank you for being here. There it is, consultative selling. I mean, that book is like, again, it's like 50 years old. And it's still, that remains in my top 5 books of all times. That one is still solidly in there. Let me see if I can go off the top of my head, my list of the top 5. Everybody always asks me about my top 5, right? And so, I'm going to test my brain here. Consultative selling. I'll write them out. I'll do this quick. Consultative selling, one of my favorites. That's Matt Cannon. Spin selling. People say spin selling is outdated. No, it ain't. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Spin selling. The challenger sale is also, this challenger sale is my, there's one called the effortless experience. And there's one more, and I'm forgetting which one it is right now. But right there, those 4 books right there to me are gold. There's a lot of great books out there. And by the way, when I just say these are just my favorites based on my needs, because I look at the world through whether it's a B2B lens or B2C lens, I see this material right here as some of the best when it comes to actually helping you sell more effectively. So this forms part of what I call my golden shelf. I'll think about the 5th one later. For some reason, I can't think of the 5th one. Anyway, I'll think about it some other time and get back to you. It may hit me later. B.S. Rao says, good morning, Victor, man. Thank you. Good morning to you. On this side, it's good evening. I get crushed when not building enough value and then get crushed against a cheap competitor every time, Kevin. That's going to happen every time, man. Got a bunch of ones here. That's cool, man. Thank you. The endowment effect. Man, Kristen, you're just hooking me up tonight. My girl. All right, thank you very much. If the buyer is not serious, what do I do? Leave. The thing is, if you qualify, I'm joking with you, Kevin, but you should kind of leave anyway. What happens is you got to qualify hard early. Do you know what I mean? You got to qualify hard early. If you qualify hard early, you get a sense of whether they're serious or not. There's a lot of people who just want to talk and not take action, right? There's some people who don't have the power to make a decision. So I try to filter that out real quick. I'll give you one extreme example. One of the questions I always ask, besides yourself, especially if it's a big deal, like I know it's going to be about, I'll say $500,000, 1 million. It could even be 100,000. Let's start at 100,000. It's a $100,000 deal. And in a company, I know that most companies allow, let's say, a VP, maybe a director, to authorize only like $50,000. I don't know what the number is right now. So when I ask somebody who else needs to be involved in making this decision, and they go, no, I'm the one, Victor, nobody else. I make that sole decision. And that's always like an alarm, right? Like, okay, you're the only one that's going to make a decision. It's a $500,000 deal, and you're the only one. Now, if I'm talking to the CEO, I'll believe him. But if I'm talking to some product manager, I'm suspect of that. And usually because they just want you to deal with them, they don't want you to go around them and talk to other people. So that's one of the things I use to kind of go, I wonder if this guy does really have the power to make that decision. So really listen, really qualify early on. Relentless says, love it. Too fast, question mark, the great Victor? Of course not, man. Thank you, man. Like Best Buy open box. It's something like, is it Bust Buy? Is it really Bust Buy? Sweet. I don't know what RSC means, but awesome. Thank you again, man, Christopher, for hooking me up there, helping me out. Once in a while, AKA every deal dead. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if we qualify early, I think it's just one of those, we eliminate a lot of the riffraff. The riffraff meaning people who are not serious about buying. Start multi-locations, we can provide a 10% discount, more than 4 only. Yeah, there you go. Something like that. That's how you do it. Let me see. Year long paid in full contract. In other words, the year long paid, right? You get the whole year, you get a discount. Just things like this is what I'm talking about. Just we can do some creative brainstorming here. There's so many things you can do and come up with. You're giving a great example. Discounting your value when you do it up front. You definitely do that. You definitely do that. Herb says, my clients have to turn into salespeople for me in order to receive a discount. They have to start selling you. I love it. Ankle John, this is a long one. Always fascinating insights, man. Question, how about dealing with government agencies? They're very particular with the price, so discount is almost automatic. Is it possible to use the public opinion to push a product since government are very concerned about their image? They are, and even when you look at government, and man, trust me, I've dealt with government contracts, and what I've discovered is there's always the bake-off, right? The bake-off is the top 3 proposals, right? And what's always interesting, that in many cases, they don't go for the lowest provider. They typically go for the one in the middle, one that seems reasonable. And because sometimes when you come in too low, they go, why are you so low, right? And then they worry. And if it's too high, they see it as gougy or outside their budget. So all I can tell you is, that's a hard one because there's so many people involved in making that decision. It's very difficult. The best you can do is find the key influencer within that group or influencers. And then if you can convince them that your product or service is better than your competitors, then they'll be more forgiving if you're 3-5% off, right? Anything above 5%, I think, as far as difference in pricing, rings the alarm for government agencies. That's just my experience. Don't take it to the bank, but it's a very difficult situation because first of all, a lot of people, 9, 10, 11 people involved today in buying groups. So let's say it's 11 people in a buying group. everybody is fighting for their little piece of here's what I want, problem number two. And then on top of that, everybody's worried about going with the new provider because if something goes wrong, they get blamed and their job is on the line. So there's so many dynamics to this. There was a good book, and I'm trying to remember what it was. It was about how you deal with multiple buyers in this situation, whether it's government or just in general large buying groups. What is it? I'm just having a hard time remembering. I'll try to remember it, and maybe next time I'll have it for you. As usual, man, you nailed it. You kept it simple, and this is why you are the GOAT. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here, man. Thank you. 100%. We get killed discounting in SaaS. Yeah, I hear you, man. It's hard, man. It's hard. Even SaaS providers. I mean, it's interesting because the SaaS market is really an interesting market because I think there it really is a matter about you can position value there because software is a product that even though from the outside may look the same, they're all different in how they're actually designed. And so I think there's more value positioning within SaaS products that you can actually hold the line on discounting. My opinion. I've sold software in the past, so I think I know that it's true. How about when a client asks for a cut? Yeah, I've had that. I kind of say no. When I was vice president of sales in Latin America, I've had some very, very unique situations. I'll keep it like that since we're recording this, right? But when you have situations like that, those are difficult. I refuse to participate. I'd rather just walk away from the deal. But again, when somebody says I want to cut, I know what they mean. They just want something on the side. We used to get that request so many times, when we did the international markets. And I'll just say more specifically in some of the Latin American countries, not to taint all the Latin American. It didn't happen in every country, just a few countries it happened. I walked away from that because you never know how that's going to bite you in the ass. You know what I mean? So I would stay away from that even if you lose the deal. That's what I would do. The VA lens. I forgot what that is. Effortless experience. Thank you for that. Man, Chris is just helping me out tonight. Thank you very much on that one too. The Challenger sale. If you say what is the one book you would recommend, like if you twisted my arm on this list, the one book, number one for me is still this one. Number one. Number two? Which one do you think it is? What do you think number two would be? Let's see who knows me the best. What do you think number two would be? Yeah, let me see if you know. What would number two be? All right, and if you guessed, this would be number two. The Effortless Experience. I think it's like Matt Dixon and I forgot the other guy's name. It is such a good book. It is. This one tells you about what people want today in terms from a buyer's perspective. That's why it's not really a sales book. It's about what customers want so you can sell more effectively. So check it out. We talked about the brain pain. We talked about brain pain, but is there a possibility that after discounting, customer may feel... oh, Kevin, that made me laugh. Do they have a happy brain experience, right? The happy brain experience probably comes from the anticipation of the discount. When you anticipate something, your brain is flooded with dopamine, like, oh my God, I'm excited. I'm sure there's some type of happy brain. I mean, when you get what you want, you have that momentary high. I think there is something to the happy brain of, I got it, I won, like almost like an I win, a very primal I win. So I'm sure there's a happy rush when you get the discount, so I never looked at this happy brain. That's funny. Arvin, my man, hey, what do you know about positive margin? I've watched an online conference saying that we need to focus on customer lifetime value, meaning if a customer sees our offer as a commodity, it's okay to offer a discount. Meaning if a customer sees our offer as a commodity, it's okay to offer a discount. First of all, I hope all margins are positive. So I don't know if there's a different meaning to that I'm not aware of, Arvin. You can send me the link. I'd be more than happy to watch the video and just kind of report back. I love when people share stuff with me like this. So yeah, I'd love to see the video. Saying we need to focus on customer lifetime value. Definitely agree with that. Customer lifetime value is the new focus. I mean, that is the long-term game. Because retention, as I've talked about in the past, is big now. How do you hold customers? Because by the way, in the book, Mastering the Upsell, and I think it's on chapter You should read this one. I mean, it's we didn't cover it, by the way, but chapter 3, I talked about customer acquisition costs should always be less than customer lifetime value. And in there I talk about, for example, Starbucks. I think they use a 20-year timeline to calculate customer lifetime value. I actually go through a whole Starbucks model in here on how they calculate their actual customer lifetime value. So I think there's value in that, right? But I don't know what you mean about they see your product. The thing is, if the customer sees your product as a commodity, it's okay to offer a discount. The problem with that statement, Arvin, is that you allowed them to see it as a commodity. That's why I'm getting confused. Well, why did you allow them to see it as a commodity? See, what the customer perceives is what you allowed them to perceive. So if you allowed them to, because all you talked about was feature, benefit, here, has a green light, has a red light, has 3 lines. If you talked about the basic characteristics, they're going to see this commodity because they're going, well, he has the same thing. Like, I got lights in the studio, right? And if I say, hey, man, I'm selling lights. Want a light? And you go, well, it's a strong light. Man, it's a real strong light. Is it a good light? It's a real good light. Well, over there, they sell good lights and strong lights too, Victor. Why is yours different? It's a light. They're going to view it as a commodity. I'm being very extreme here. But until I position my lights as, look, there's fluorescent, and now we have LEDs, which are more efficient, power, energy, less heat, emissions, so forth and so on. I position the value. So if the customer sees it as a commodity, the salesperson has allowed that to happen. That also is a crime, Arvin. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I did my best on that one. Kristen, thank you very much. You are awesome. What positioning strategy for discounts add for locking in a longer term contract? Extend the terms. Well, so again, if I'm going to try to lock in, my man Doug Lehman, breaking it down in layman's terms, if I'm looking at trying to lock in long-term contracts, the question the customer is going to have is, what's in it for me? What benefit do I get? Now, obviously, if you do a discount, you'll get a price discount, right? But we can really dig into that one a little more depending on what we're talking about, Doug, because I can say, look, it's beyond this. Because you signed this 3-year contract, I'm going to give you your 5% discount. But here's what else you're going to get. Because we value you and we value long-term contract, we now give you special, like American Express, we give you access to a special phone number where you'll call this customer service person, which will guarantee that all calls will be answered within the first 5 or 10 minutes, of you getting online. Another thing we'll do is you'll get first shot at first option to actually buy some of the newer products before anybody else because you're part of our long-term customer plan. So you can create these incentives for somebody to want to extend the contract. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's how I would view it. Besides giving me the 5% discount, what else can I layer on there to really entice them? So Doug, you do video. Doug does video marketing, does it well. So Doug does video marketing. So Doug, if I'm doing video marketing, I said, look, I can give you a price discount. Number 2, I said also because we're going to be working on a long-term basis, you and I can now set up like a template that'll be consistent. So the messaging delivery will always be the same, right? So if you're worried about branding, we can work on that. Number 3, because you're a long-term customer, here's what we're going to do. We're also going to provide the audio versions of these videos so that you can put them on a podcast. You come up with these things that the customers go, okay, now you went from just a 5% discount to here's some extra value adds on there. And that kind of pulls them into wanting to sign a longer-term contract. So hopefully I answered that. Mike Glenn, do you believe in giving customers quantity discounts if needed to? Yes, I do. How's that? Is that shocking that you're hearing that from me, Mike? Yes, I do. I'm not an idiot. Man, if you want to up your quantity and you need a discount, I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, but I would always make sure that we're not sacrificing something. So for example, I want to make sure that those discounts are not cutting into the bone of the company, right? So if we put in there enough margin, if we're making, I don't know, after you take out fixed costs, variable costs, and let's say, our margins are, I don't know, 35%, and I can squeeze out another 1 more just to get a heavier volume, great. I'll do a heavier volume, but let's say it's a manufacturing product and it's quantity, because I'm moving higher volumes through the factory. Now, my manufacturing people can order higher volume and they can get a discount from their supplier, which makes up for that margin I just gave away, or at least mitigates some of that margin. So that's why I believe. Tom Riley wrote a book. And again, I hate to date myself, but these, I mean, I'm telling you, some of these older books are just gems. And I'm, you know, some people go, it was written 30, 40 years ago. There's a guy by the name of Tom Riley, R-E-I-L-Y, who wrote Value Added Selling. And I think he wrote it like in 87, 90. And in there, he gave some of the best examples of what happens when you discount something, but also you increase volume, and how manufacturing or buyers can actually now negotiate with their suppliers because they're buying in higher volumes from their suppliers. So anyway, long-winded answer, but there it is. Let me see. What about positioning a discount strategy to lock in a longer term? Okay, hopefully I answered this one, Doug, so let me know. Jesus, effortless, man. Thank you, man. Thank you, as always. I love your story about was that $5,000. It was a great story. Man, lots to learn. By the way, Inco John, I'll tell you, you're officially my stalker, man. I'm just going to give you the title, the VA stalker. He's talking about, you know, the whole thing about used equipment in one of my strategies. I had a customer, I'll give you the short version of it. He had bought equipment, wasn't working for him. He couldn't afford, he bought it from another manufacturer. Came to me, says, man, my system's not working, expensive systems. And he said, is there any way you can sell me this at this price? And what I wound up doing was, I sold him our equipment at a discount, our standard discount. At that point, it was, I think it was 30% off list price. That was standard, okay? Anything below that, you had to get approval. Standard discount, 30%. Then I said, I'll give you an extra 5%. Here's what I did. If you give me the equipment you currently have. So I took his equipment, gave him an extra 5%, took his equipment, right? And then we knew that we had customers who had this type of equipment, and we resold it in what is known as a secondary market, right? Next thing you know, this guy's system is working. He's making money. About a year after that, him and his uncle were in Miami. They came by. They said they wanted to thank me, took me out to dinner, and then took me out to dinner. First of all, picked me up in a limo, took me out to dinner, and then they presented me with a watch. It was a Chopard, real nice Swiss watch, a Chopard. And I remember at that time I looked at the value, like $5,000, something like that. And I did report it to my company, to my VP, my boss at the time. And she says, Victor, it was well earned. Enjoy the watch. That's the gold watch story. But thank you for reminding me of that story, man. Appreciate it. Pablo, hey, Victor, what do you think about Never Split the Difference? If you've heard of it, yes, I've heard of it. It's a great book, man. Great strategies in there. I mean, that guy, Mr. Negotiator, what is his name now? Somebody give me his name. I'm just having this moment tonight where I can't remember names. But Never Split the Difference it's a great book. It's really a great negotiating book. It's a good mindset book. It's a good way of having conversations with, in other words, putting the other person first and making them feel like they matter. And if you think about Never Split the Difference, you know, a lot of people view it more as a negotiation, where I see it more as how do you have conversations where you keep the spotlight on the other person and make them feel important. Let them be heard, right? That's part of the book. Let them feel heard. And again, I think it's a great book. Does it make my top 5? No, but it's a great book. Highly recommended, by the way. Like I said, not everyone can make I would put that one definitely in my top 100. That's definitely in my top 100. And then let me see, what do we got here? This one. And then this book, of course, is probably the book you should always get. Christian, you're too funny. Yes, I'm working on both customer retention and scaling. Customers love my SaaS, and I got to keep the momentum going. That's why I'm here watching you. And again, you know, the customer retention is big, right? In one of my past ones, Shalene, this is just for you. In one of my past talks, I talk about there's only 4 ways, Shalene. 4 ways to scale your business, right? 4 ways to scale your business. And the first one is you grow it. This is, by grow, I mean you acquire new clients, right? So this is client acquisition, right? Client acquisition, you grow. The second way, which is what you're talking about, is retention. And one study showed it, I think it was a Stanford study that showed that if I can improve retention by 5%, i.e. reduce my churn by that amount, that this could have an impact somewhere between 80 to 90% on my margins. Amazing numbers, right? And then here is what I like to talk about is how do you by the way, this is acquire. So this is gain new business, sorry. Gain new business, this is grow. This is the upselling piece. This is why I wrote the book Upselling. Because then another way of scaling is you upsell. And the last one is you reactivate. You reactivate, you go back to people who haven't bought for a while, right? So think about it. Gaining new clients, client acquisition is much tougher today, right? So I think retention is big today. Upselling, growing your existing customer base is really big. And then maybe reactivate and then maybe grow. And so what's happening now is a lot of customer companies are seeing higher net profits even though they have lower sales. Why? Think about it, Shalene. What they're doing is that they know they can't acquire new clients. It's hard, right? I'm not saying they're not prospecting. They just know the realities of it. They're not letting a lot of salespeople just travel anywhere anymore. They're limiting travel. They're focusing in on retention. They're focusing in on selling to existing clients, and they're reactivating people who bought in the past or at least inquired about their products. And less emphasis is put on prospecting and going out there and getting business. What's happening? One company said their sales dropped, Shalene, 10%. He says, but their margins increased because the cost of acquiring a new client, the cost of sales, went through the floor. Why? Salespeople are not traveling anymore, right? All this expense, this cost of sales is being pushed down, which means the margins are going up, even though sales are going down. So you're playing in the right field, in the right playground. Sorry for the long answer. I just thought it was important for you to know that. 4 ways to scale your business, and I think you're on the right track. It's Victor Antonio's life. It's better than his pen. Thank you very much. You're crazy. All right, Pablo, what's your best response to, I'll go with you if you discount your price for X amount? Again, use any one of the strategies. I said, I'll accept your order if you accept one of these options. You know, and again, everybody uses that. When they use that, by the way, that line right there, Pablo, they're in. They're going to buy. That to me is a buying signal. When somebody says, you know what, I'll buy from you, Victor, if you can just discount another 5%. I said, look, another 5% is not going to make a difference. Here's what I'll do instead. That's the in return. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'll do instead of giving you another discount. And then just offer them something in return, right? Loss leader, the 7 moves we talked about, without giving them a discount. So there is a way of turning that. But that to me, Pablo, that's a buying signal. They're in. Now, here's what's interesting, and this is important, because we've got to be real about this, right? Keeping it real, Pablo, keeping it real. When somebody says that to me, I've had that said to me in the past, right? Victor, if you give me a 5% discount, I'll go with you. I said, let me be clear here. Now, this is assuming, Pablo, let me be clear here. This was a situation where I really wanted to get into a customer. I knew that if I got into the customer, I would push my competition out, right? I just needed to get in, right? I just needed to get in. And I was willing to sacrifice some discount points for positioning, because it's all about strategy, right? It's not just about discounting and pricing. It's about how does it fit in the bigger part of the strategy, your sales strategy, your go-to-market strategy. And so I said, I'll give you whatever it was, 5%. He says, but if I give you the 5%, we sign the contract now. And I'm telling you, you know what I saw? People go, whoa, okay, we're not ready to sign the contract yet, Victor. I said, well, when you're ready to sign the contract, then we'll talk about discounting. And that was always like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? I hate to say it, but it was like, oh, shit. They had a no shit moment because I called them on it. I'll give you the discount. We sign the contract right now. Letter of intent. I'll type it up right now. You sign it. We do the deal. And they're like, whoa, we can't sign the contract right now. Well, I said, well, we can't talk about discounting. So before you give the discount, any number, let's say they ask for 5%. I said, you want 5%. If we were able to match that 5%, are you willing to sign the contract today and put in the first order? Don't say anything. Just look at them. Don't say anything. Just look at them. And then watch them. And if they say this, absolutely, right now, let's do it. But they'll do it. Then you know what you're dealing with, okay? Let me know if that helped. Let me know if that helped. Tom Riley, thank you again, Christian. You're so hooking me up today. Value-added selling again. What year was that, Christian? Could you look at that real quick for me? I appreciate it. Thank you. Rockstar magicians, any advice for selling magic shows to schools? Man, Rockstar, that's a tough one right now because, you know, you got to get into the school, right? But it's interesting. You got me thinking. I said, how would I pitch myself at a magic show? It is entertainment, right? They're kind of still looking for entertainment. Now, you know, what I would do, Rockstar, and I don't know, I'm going to guide you here a little bit. You tell me if I'm a little loco, but when I started my speaking career, I realized that there's not a lot of money in elementary schools. I don't speak at elementary schools, just as a note. I started speaking in the high school markets, and I realized there are budgets around, I don't know, to bring in people from the outside to speak, in your case, entertain. It was like $500. Some people got $1,500 per an hour, but it was rare. A lot of people got basically $200, $300, $400, $500. Not a lot of money. Then I discovered the college market. And in the college market, that's where some bigger dollars are at. In the college market, as a magician, you can make anywhere between $2,500 and $5,000 per gig. So there's two organizations I would like you to look up. One is called NACA. Don't ask me, I think it's NACA.org. And the other one is called APCA.com. I would start with APCA, by the way. It's cheaper. What they do is they bring all these schools together, all the buyers, and the buyers, they buy entertainment like yourself. And if you get the showcase for them, all these schools see you one time, you perform, bunch of schools see you, they like you, massive bookings, right? I got another story on this. I was managing a band one time. The band is named Olive Carpet, and I put them on the college market, and I think I got them I sold them on a 60, I think it was like a 62 city tour, you know, so it's a good market, man. It's a good market. All right, I'm gonna start wrapping up so I can get out of here. As much as possible, I position my products as unique. To any buyer that researches, there are competitors everywhere. The Web Summit tells it's okay to lose a small fish than the big fish. Yeah, you're gonna lose some small fish. My friend Lee Sauls, look up this guy, Lee Sauls. He's written 2 books. What's the first one called? The second was called Sell Differently. He just released the second was called Sell Differently. The first one was something about differentiation. I forgot. It's like sales differentiation, and now the next one is Sell Differently. The first one, Sales Differentiation, it has in there a chapter on at least, I think it's like 12 dimensions of how you can find the value of your product or service, right? It gives you 8 dimensions, 8 things to think about, like 8 ways to thinking about value. Check out the book. It'll be worth your time. I think it's called Sales Differentiation. Came out about maybe 2 years ago. And again, Sell Differently just came out this year. Highly recommend the book, especially if you're doing B2B type of product sales. You want to read his books. Great books. Great books. Chris Voss, thank you, Pablo. There it is. Never Split the Difference. Thank you, Christian. You're awesome as always. And there's the link. Christian is again hooking us up. Big fan of you, Victor Surma. Thank you very much, Mike. If an existing customer calls you out to lowering prices on your products that they are currently using, what would be the best techniques to use to give a discount? If an existing customer calls you out to lowering your prices, products that they're currently using, what would be the best technique for you to use to give them a discount? Well, the thing is, again, I'm like, if they're asking me for a discount, I'm wondering why they're asking me for a discount. If they're if they're buying quantity over and over, you know, they may use the, we're one of your better clients, which it could be. If they're a great client and they're buying volume, again, I said, look, I can do the 5% that you're asking for. You're a great client. I said, but why don't we lock this in for 2 years, and then why don't you guarantee me a minimum volume? So for example, if they're buying, let's say, last year they bought 1,000 units, right? They're coming back and says, hey, we're thinking of buying 1,000 units again. You got to give us a better price, man. We're a great customer. We pay on time, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? You say, I'll tell you what. I always like to defer to the higher authority. Defer to the higher authority is my favorite strategy. I should talk about that more. And that's it. Look, and you see this at car dealerships. Let me go talk to my boss, but I know he's going to ask me, what do we get in return? So why don't we do this? Is there any way you can make that number 1,500? If you can make the number 1,500, I can go fight for 5 or 10%. Can you do that? And then they have to tell you no. right? I said, well, I'll do my best and I'll go see if I can do that. That's one strategy. So there's so many different ways to cut that pie. But let me see. Great book is called When Buyer Says No. Thank you, Rockstar. When Buyer Says No. I'll have this on the feed so I'll be able to see it. All right, a couple more and I'm going to sign out here. After listening over and over to the Sales Influence podcast, Cornering the Client, it helped me understand how to avoid the discounting. Instead, I propose to clients how much they save and earn in the long run. You've graduated. You've snatched the pebble from my hand. If you don't know what that means, look it up. Snatching the pebble from my hand. But anyway, by the way, that's a great podcast. The Sales Influence podcast, my podcast. But that's a great episode. It's titled Cornering the Client. You might want to listen to that. So just search for it online. Hello. Been a long time. Do listen to him. My sales improved by 10% just by his video. Arkham, you are awesome. Thank you. And Uncle John, proud to be a VA stalker, man. Always love your content. It was 2018. Thank you very much. Helps a mill. Thanks, Victor. Christian, you're just awesome tonight. Look, you're just killing it with me today. NACA.org. Great organization if you want to be a speaker, by the way. Also, there are many podcast series that you are inspired by in addition to the books. Are there also any podcasts? No. That's my honest answer, man. I have a hard time listening to a lot of podcasts. I really do. Tell me if you feel the same way. I just have a hard time listening to podcasts. Let me tell you what I started watching though that's really motivating me and giving me new ideas. But you got to be ready for this. I started about, almost a month ago. I started watching talks on Google. Do you guys know what that is? Like Google has all these great authors who come and they speak at Google, right? Like I was listening to Daniel Kahneman, who won a Nobel Prize for economics, came up with something called prospect theory. And talks at Google are just like fire, man. Just the intellectual firepower just leaves your head spinning. So talks at Google is what I listen to. I try listening to podcasts. I think sometimes I feel like they're just rehashing the same thing and they're not saying anything differently. And so I'm very, I'm just not into podcasts. I'm on video now. Like talks at Google is just where I'm going right now. Great question though. Thank you, Christian. You're on it, my girl, right? How about the blocking objection when it comes to discount? Remember, blocking objections when it comes to discount. So again, check out the Sales Velocity Academy. Check out the course, the blocking objections. There's also the book you can download. I think I have 22 scripts of different objections you can block for 22 different. I think discount is in there, actually, the book, TJ. So if you can download the book, that'd be great because I think it's in there. And I think, again, I think if you position, you can't raise the objection. Now, a lot of people ask me for discounts. That's how you would raise the objection. You don't want to do that. I think I would not use a blocking objection for a discount because I'm positioning the value. If I'm positioning the value like, look, the way I block a discount, if I were to block it, I wouldn't say discount. It's like, look, many of my clients tell me my product's more expensive. Step one in the blocking objections, right? Raise the objection. My clients tell me that our product's more expensive than our competitors. And then use the next part, offer to resolve, right? That's part of the formula. I said, but let me show you that when you look at apples to apples and you compare it, it really isn't that much more expensive in the long run. In fact, I would argue it's cheaper. Third part of the blocking objection structure. You demonstrate something that shows that in the long run it is cheaper. Close it out, tie it down. Fourth part, which is you say, based on what I've shown you, can you now see that although we cost a little more up front, in the long run over the next 2 years, you're going to save a lot more money than if you'd gone through the other product. They go, yeah, boom. No more talking about discounts. So anyway, I got to wrap this up, guys, because you'll keep me on here all night. I told myself I keep these only to an hour. It's almost the top of the hour here. So again, thank you, everybody. Special shout out to Christian, who was hooking me up tonight with all the information, all the details. Thank you guys very much for being here. You know I appreciate you. So can you do me one favor? One favor. Just share this with somebody else. Just share this Sales After Dark, because I think it's great content. It's great value. And that's what I'm hoping to deliver. And I wish more people would watch this. And thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Have a great night. And in some cases, have a great day. Take care.